All right, well, hello guys. Today I'm bringing you another Darktable editing tutorial. Darktable is a free alternative to Adobe Lightroom. I already recorded this tutorial for 50 minutes in 4K, and then I realized at the end that the recording didn't save right, so the video was kind of wonky. So now I'm back 1 hour later, and we're going to teach you guys how to edit in Darktable. This is the second video I'm making on Darktable, so if you want to go back and watch the first one, that one's a little bit more introductory, but I'm also going to explain the editing process here. But in that first video, we talk about importing. Now, real quick, I want to show you guys how to get free styles, which are basically like Lightroom presets, so basically free color presets into Darktable. So we'll search for this free pack. I'm not affiliated, but it's very good. It's called T3 Mugen Pack, and I'll probably post the link to this GitHub page in the video description. But essentially, you're just gonna hit this green code button, and then you'll hit download zip, and then in Darktable, you'll go to the light table view, so the main view for cataloging and stuff. And then you'll expand this styles drop-down menu, hit import, and you'll navigate to the folder and you'll just import all the presets. And then you'll have them all in a list like this. So it's very nice. Now, since I already edited these videos, I need to duplicate them and then sort of reset them to show you guys how to edit them. So to duplicate an image that's in light table, this is what you will do. You will select image, and then I am command clicking, probably control click on Windows, to select more images. And then I'm simply going to go to actions on selection, hit that drop down, and then we're going to hit duplicate. Now in this image in the darkroom tab. Okay, so I'll show you guys how I would edit this image. Quick coffee break. I'm going to go to exposure first and dial in the exposure. I'm gonna type in this search box right here on the right. This is where all of our effects live, on the right hand side. So we're gonna type in tone for tone curve. This is the same curves tool that you know and love from Photoshop, Lightroom, pretty much any image editing software. So it works exactly the same as you're used to. I might do a little bit of local contrast. So if I turn this on, it's basically going to add what would be clarity in Lightroom. But it depends on how you mess with these sliders. So the detail slider here is like very clarity oriented. And you can actually turn these down and then get more of a film look, which looks kind of nice. I like somewhere in the middle for this image. And then we should increase the saturation. So we'll hit this color tab. Go to color balance RGB, and I'm just gonna bring up the global saturation. Oh, I should preface this by saying, like, these are not images I would necessarily deliver to a client, just some snaps that I shot the other day. And so it's good fodder for teaching you guys how to edit in Darktable. If I go to this last tab, we have framing. Turn it on, gives you a nice frame, keeps the viewer's eye in the image for longer. But it helps the colors and luminance to not really get lost on the page, especially if you're viewing it on a phone or something. You can go to lens correction next, turn that on, see what it does. So this is the nifty 50, so there's not a ton going on, but it removes some vignetting mostly. And then we'll go to, type in diffuse, we'll go to diffuse or sharpen. I'm gonna right click on this, hit sharpness fast. It's just gonna give us some quick sharpness for the image, and it looks pretty good. Darktable doesn't add sharpness by default, so you have to do it yourself. Back to light table. I'll show you guys how to get this look now. So if we go back to before edits, I added a little bit of contrast in sigmoid. Okay, with the contrast slider, increased exposure, and then I added a mask to the exposure. Another exposure effect to dial back the background. So I'll show you guys how to do that. So we'll search exposure. I already have one exposure effect, so we'll hit this little square box icon to duplicate the effect. We'll hit new instance. It's gonna give us a new fresh instance of exposure that it's not doing anything right now. So I want to darken the highlights up there in the background. So we'll bring this down and then we'll add a parametric mask. So on the effect, you'll click this button and then click this little circle cutout, and that's our mask preview. So I'm gonna drag this black slider up to remove the black. So now the yellow is the part that we've selected, right? So we just want the yellow, the highlights. And I'll use this slider right here as the feather to soften up the selection. And we'll turn off the mask preview and turn on and off exposure, and you can see what it's doing. So we've just turned down the background a little bit essentially and made it so that the viewer's eye won't go to the background, because I want the viewer's eye looking at the lights, right? Now we can come in here to tone curve and make our own sort of adjustments here. So I want to add some contrast in the midtones and sort of flatten out the building colors here, which looks very nice, I think. Play around with the background there. And that's before and after with the tone curve. And now I'll add a sort of a bloom effect. So if you go to diffuse or sharpen, right click, artistic effects, bloom, it'll give you sort of a glowing effect. And you can change the radius span here up a bit. Maybe 90 pixels looks good on this one. And then I'll turn down, I'll hit the circle mask on the effect and I'll turn down the opacity way down. So that's 20%. And if we turn that off and on, you can see it just adds a nice glow, but it's not like over the top. And we can go diffuse or sharpen, sharpness fast, add some sharpness. Actually, let me do that. Let me back up. I'll copy this effect and then I'll add sharpness normal on a separate layer. And now we'll add a frame. And that's pretty much it for that image. You could also go in here to the color tab, color balance RGB, and turn up the global saturation a bit. I don't like how that makes the lights look though, so I might just turn up the midtones saturation. And yeah, there you go. So that's that image. Let's see what's next. So this is original, this is edited. And what I did on this edited image is I removed most of the noise from the sky because this was shot at night, but I kept most of the noise in the foreground because I like the texture, and it just looked pretty good. So I'll show you guys how to do that. So original image here, we'll hit exposure, turn up the exposure a bit. Let's actually apply a color preset to this first. So back in the light table view, we can go to the styles tab and just find a style that we like. Color negative, I'll probably do this one. This one I've been using a lot, Cinestill 800T. Okay, now back in darkroom, color equalizer, eyedropper icon. We'll go to saturation here. Just pull the red saturation down a little bit. I'm gonna change the hue of that as well. Now let's work on the noise. Type in noise, hit denoise profile. It's gonna profile the camera and lens and give you a nice looking denoise. We could just leave it there, but I want to mask out the foreground. Doing a drawn mask, hit the brush icon, scroll wheel to increase the brush size, shift and scroll to change the feather. And I'm just going to very roughly hit the sky. It's feathered and it's just noise, so we're going to turn the mask down, but you can see this is the area we've selected. You can turn off denoise. Turn it back on and we'll see we're mostly just removing the denoise from the sky, which is nice. You could duplicate the denoise effect by hitting this square icon, hit new instance, right? And then go down here to no mask. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is working. And then we'll just turn down this denoise. So I'll turn up preserve shadows and turn down strength. I just want a little bit of denoise. Now we can just edit it however we want. Make a new tone curve instance. Again, we'll take a snapshot over here on the left side at the top and go down to before we started editing, really. So take another snapshot. So this is the before and the right side is the after. So it's a substantial difference in exposure, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. Click that snapshot again to turn it off. Turn on framing. Type in lens, go to lens correction, turn on lens correction. That's gonna make it a lot brighter. I forgot to do that in the beginning, so we'll go back to exposure, if I can spell exposure, and turn the exposure back down to compensate. I'm exposing just for the part I care about, which is this in the middle here, because what I want to do is make a new instance of exposure, turn it down, add a mask. We'll do a drawn mask. Hit the little gradient icon. I'll click here. Inverse it. Okay, so now I've added an exposure mask just to the bottom of the image. Which is kind of nice. We could do this with a vignette as well. It's essentially the same. There is the image for now. So that's how you would do like a mask, and you can mask any effect. And it's controlled independently of every other effect, which is very nice. Love me some coffee. Let's go to light table. I hit this XY button to preview one image at a time here, and I just changed this number to 1. And then you can arrow key through. Now we'll hold down the right mouse button to draw a horizon line and release it, and then Darktable is just going to auto-correct the rotation for us. This image, I essentially just went to the color tab here, hit color balance RGB, turn up saturation, color equalizer. You can hit the eyedropper tool and then click. I'll show you where the green is on this graph, and then you can change the hue, okay? And then you can go to saturation and do the same thing. So that's how you would dial in saturation for a specific color or luminance, for example. And then it's just a crop and some shadows and highlights adjustment to pull the highlights down a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Let's go back to light table. Next set of images. So let's see. I was just walking and I saw this bird just chilling. I think it's a hawk. Somebody can correct me. So for this, it's pretty much just apply that same style effect and then mess with sigmoid, contrast, and then mess with local contrast and exposure. It's pretty much all I did. This is the default color balance. I like it a little bit more green. And I didn't really edit that one much. This one, we did a vignette. I'll show you guys how I did this one real quick, little trick. So, or we'll edit this photo since I haven't edited it yet. So we'll do exposure, pull up the exposure a bit, right, to whatever looks nice. Hit the light bulb icon to turn that off. Local contrast to add a bit of clarity. But what I want to do is I want to mask this to the bird actually. So I might do a drawn mask here, and then we'll do a circle, which it's actually already perfect, but you can grab this handle and increase or decrease it, and use the scroll wheel to change the sizing. And then the local contrast is just affecting the bird. So now if we wanted to just dial in contrast on him, we can do that. And then it leaves the rest of the image more blurry. So it kind of draws your eye to the subject. And then we can do tone curve, perhaps. Or we'll start with sigmoid. And we'll go to tone curve. And just dial it in a bit. Then I'll go to diffuser sharpen, right click. We'll go to sharpness, we'll hit fast. Just gonna give it some good sharpness for the whole image. That looks good. Pretty much how I would post it. If you want to get rid of some of that green, you can. Go to color equalizer, select that green, saturation tab, and then just pull that down a bit. Yeah, it's up to you. Moving on. This image is kind of fun. We did some black and white. Quick edit, I'll show you how to do it. Light table view, select just the one image. Go to your free pack. Okay, we're doing the, obviously, black and white. I like Fuji Neopan 1600. It's nice and contrasty and crunchy already. So we'll go to darkroom. Hit the light bulb icon to prepare our eyes for setting the exposure. And then we'll just dial in the exposure so that the majority of the photo looks decent. Then I'll exit out of that by hitting the light bulb icon again. And I will type in shadow. Go to shadows and highlights, turn this on. Reset the shadows because all I want to do here is pull back the highlights to get some of that detail back. So there's before, there's after, and now we'll go to local contrast and turn that on. It's a really good way to dial in the contrast on a black and white. I'm just gonna change this detail slider mostly. And it's looking pretty awesome. I like high clarity on a photo like this, especially black and whites for some reason. I feel like look good like this. Forgot lens correction, so we'll go to lens correction, turn that on. I'm gonna change the correction from all to only distortion so that we keep the natural vignette of the lens. And then we'll just do some sharpness. So we'll go to diffuse and sharp, right click, hit sharpness fast, go out of frame. And then I'm posting to Instagram, so I'll hit constant border and I'll select 5x4, 8x10. So we can hit crop, select 5x4 in here where it says freehand. I don't know if I like it more with the crop or without. I kind of like the verticality of the whole image, so I'll leave it without a crop. We did a tone curve. We applied the Cinestill 800 style, and then local contrast, sigmoid contrast, framing, turn on lens correction, and add sharpness. Let's go through these shots. So I took a lot of these. These are shot at, this is 1/20th of a second. Let's look at black and white. Probably keep the color in this one. Let's look at my filter I like. That's pretty nice. And I'm going to correct for the horizon. So hold down right click, draw a line. I don't know, I might add a crop to this, I might not. This looks pretty decent. We'll check our exposure real quick. It is like a 7 p.m. night sort of shot, so I don't want it super bright. And then let's go to local contrast. Actually, I want to remove a little bit of contrast, I think. And we'll go to color calibration, just make sure. Yeah, we'll leave it default. Color balance RGB, look at the saturation and just see where we want to hang out here. Diffuser sharpen, right click, sharpness. We'll do normal. looks pretty good. And we'll do lens correction, turn that on. Honestly, I like how that looks already. I'm gonna do a new instance of diffuser sharpness and just see how it looks. The little bloom, turn down the mask a bit. So yeah, and then you could do something fun with the crop on this if you wanted to. Go freehand and do like a cinema crop, you know what I'm saying? Like really crop in and then add a frame. And you can change the frame border color like black. It's kind of cinematic. Just an option. You don't have to edit like this, but you can if you want to. Let me bring the detail back up. Let's see what filmic RGB looks like on this. Looks pretty good, looks pretty filmic. I don't know, it just always looks cool. It's basically a tone curve, but it always looks cool. It kind of looks like a Peter McKinnon edit now, with these like crunched shadows, but I don't know, I kind of like it. I want to see what this tone curve is doing. So this is the tone curve from the style preset. I can go in here and edit this for myself. I'm kind of looking for more effects to make it look like more like a movie still. You could turn on some grain and turn up the coarseness a bit. Almost getting like a film look here. It's funny, I go to like all of this trouble to denoise my images, and then I'm like, you know what would be really cool is if we added noise. That would be sick. And I just spent like 10 minutes showing you guys how to mask noise out of the sky, and I've just added it back in, but it looks so cool. It's kind of cool. I think I'm going to post this to Instagram. So the way you would export here, what's going on? You can export out of Darkroom. On the left, at the bottom, there's the export dialog. And in the light table view, it's on the right at the bottom of the screen is where you export images. I like the light table section more because you can do multiple images. And I'm not sure if you can in the Darkroom section. So I showed this in the last video, but JPEG quality 90. Hit the folder icon, select like the folder where you want to save the images to on your computer. And then the default size is 0 by 0 pixels, and that just means it won't resize it. And then just leave these settings how I have them. Leave it on image settings. Turn on high quality resampling, and then just hit start export. It'll say exporting one image down here, and then it'll tell you when it's done. So it's exported it to my folder, and there you have it. If I want to, come back in here, turn the crop back on. We'll do the same thing. Luckily, it seems to sync the settings for this from both tabs, which is nice. So I'll just hit start export. I have it, so on conflict, I put create unique file name. So on that, it named it the name plus underscore 01. And if I save it again, you'll see it saves it as the name plus underscore 02. And what I would do in here, and the sort of the saving dialog box, it should end with file name and parentheses. And what you want to do is hit underscore and then type in your initials, right? This is really good for organization. It's really good if you work on a team. I use this for all sorts of photography and video projects. So I'll save something underscore my initials and then underscore DT for Darktable. If I'm saving a Photoshop file, I'll say the name of the image, so 0374 underscore my initials underscore Photoshop V1 for version 1. I don't do versions in like Lightroom Darktable stuff because I don't need them, but for Photoshop or video editing, V1, V2, V3. So as you save each file, you know, it'll help you guys in the future. You're working on a team and they're like, whose video is this? And, you know, or you need to get paid for the stuff that you worked on, you can go back and be like, this is my file. It's got my initials on it. Send the cash. So I just copied and Controller Command C to copy and paste my settings from the last image to this image. We've got some crazy stuff going on here. So the frame we need to change back to 5x4, 4x5. Might denoise, turn on denoise profiles here and hit the light bulb icon. And now we'll drag the exposure slider to somewhere that looks decent. Yeah, I'm gonna turn off local contrast on this one, or turn down the detail, I think. You can always reapply the style effect. These effects are nice because most of them aren't too strong. So if you pick the more subtle ones, when it comes to the color ones, I would stick with the more subtle presets here, and then edit from there, and it's just gonna look good. And this is kind of a fun picture. Just bring the exposure up. I would clone stamp this in Photoshop or Affinity. Maybe go black and white, actually. Yeah, black and white looks better for this. Shadows and highlights. Obviously, we don't really need a frame on this image, but we can do a frame. Probably do a crop first and make sure it like kind of lined up here. Like a 16:9. Am I blind? A little bit of local contrast. Alright guys, thanks for watching this very long-winded Darktable tutorial. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and probably do another tutorial in a week at the latest. So yeah, see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.